In these clips, we see a formation of A-36s flying and attacking targets while in a vertical dive. The A-36 is a dive-bombing version of the P-51A Mustang. North American Aviation built these units to fulfill a perceived U.S. Army Air Force need for a dive bomber. The intent of this video is to review configuration, tactics, targets, and the combat effectiveness of the A-36 Mustang. This video dovetails nicely with the channel's last video discussing the failed A-25 Shrike program, where the USAAF evaluated a modified Curtiss Helldiver for land combat. The USAAF was impressed with the combat effectiveness of the German Ju-87 Stuka dive bombers that they considered modifying the A-20 as a dive bomber, as discussed in this 1983 Office of Air Force History document titled The Army Air Forces in World War II, Volume 6. These efforts proved ineffective. Additional efforts to modify Navy dive bombers like the SBD for Air Force ground attack sorties proved unsuccessful. The Navy derivatives were slow, limited range, and vulnerable to attack. In spring 1942, design work started to convert the new P-51 Mustang into a dive bomber. The conversion included adding dive brakes, bomb racks, armaments, and engine modifications. The new model was designated the A-36 Mustang. There's a lot of internet debate on the A-36's name, such as Apache, Invader, or Mustang. I believe the final consensus is the plane should be defined as the A-36 Mustang. This table lists the type and number of planes delivered from a World War II statistics procurement document. 142 A-36 Mustangs were delivered in 1942 and another 358 in 1943 for a total of 500 units. This image shows the A-36's unique dive brakes on the upper and lower wing surface. Dive brakes are deployed to arrest the plane's natural tendency to overspeed and improve dive handling. The A-36 and early P-51A models share many of the same parts, configuration, and performance, as discussed in this 1943 P-51 pilot training manual. The A-36 had added bomb racks and dive brakes and was armed with 6 50 caliber machine guns in lieu of the 4 20mm autocannons. This image shows the P-51A model's wing-mounted 20mm autocannons. The A-36 can be adopted to attack as a fighter, machine gun strafer, and dive bomber. It enjoyed much success during the Italian campaign. Here you can identify characteristics of the A-36, the Razorback canopy, bomb racks, 3-blade propeller, lower dive brake deployed, 2 wing barrel ports, and the 2 fuselage machine gun barrels. A couple of these features are highlighted in this A-36 Mustang image. This page from a June 1944 A-36 and P-51 SRM document outlines features of the dive brake. They are hydraulically operated. The surfaces are perforated. Dive brakes are usually perforated to help reduce tail buffeting when deployed. The dive brakes match the wing contour when stowed as part of the air-wetted surface. Both dive brakes are 35 inches in length and articulate 90 degrees when deployed. The lower panel's chord is 7.4 inches and the upper panel's chord is an inch longer. This table outlines dimensions of the various Mustang models. The A-36 dimensions are listed in this column, and a quick row scan shows it shares identical dimensions with the P-51A model. This phantom image is of a P-51A model from a May 1943 Mustang flight manual. The major assemblies of the A-36 and P-51A are shown in this image and table. The differences are the lower and upper dive brakes. A close-up of the A-36's dive brake, machine gun casings, ammo belts, and chutes. The dive brake panel will drape flush into this cavity when stowed, following the wing's curved upper surface. This hydraulically actuated fitting articulates the dive brake to either 90 degrees or stowed. This article, titled "Those Screaming Invaders" from a February 1944 Air Force journal, describes the A-36's combat performance after 5 months of fighting in Italy. Key points of the article include: they are providing close air support. They dive bomb targets only a few hundred feet ahead of U.S. lines. They have gained a reputation for dead center bomb placement accuracy. Each A-36 is armed with 2 500-pound bombs. As a pilot approaches the target, he will climb a couple thousand feet over the target, rolls on his back, and dives straight down vertically, dropping his bomb and exits the area. The bombs will fall vertically from release point. The plane will be diving and releasing the bomb at a speed of 375 miles per hour. Recovery occurs after a 1,500-foot altitude drop after bomb release. Axis troops experience terror while under dive bomb attack. The slotted dive brake panels emit a sound louder than the Stuka dive bomber. Captured Italian troops were so shaken by the A-36 attacks that they were hysterical. They called the A-36 screaming helldivers. After dive bombing, the A-36 is now a strafer, mostly targeting motor vehicles. The plane's maximum design dive speed equates to an indicated airspeed of 505 miles per hour, as discussed on this page from a March 1943 A-36 pilot flight manual. However, dive brake opening placard speed is 350 miles per hour indicated, and the deployed dive brake placard dive speed equates to 450 miles per hour indicated. This page from an August 1943 27th Bombardment Group document titled Report of Tactics Employed A-36 Aircraft outlines A-36 observations while engaged in attacks or combat. Key points of the report include its nickname is the Invader. This name was selected to differentiate it from the Mustang, and the plane was mostly used in rhubarb attacks. Rhubarb attacks are defined as ground harassing operations while over enemy territory, as defined in this 1942 8th Air Force memo. It is regarded as a superior fighter-bomber given its pinpoint bombing accuracy. Best accuracy is achieved when attacks are at a 90-degree dive angle. Glide bombing is much less accurate. However, glide bombing may be required if cloud ceiling is low or the terrain is such that a dive bomb pullout would be dangerous. A-36s should not be flown above altitudes of 8,000 feet, as the Allison engine's performance drops off above this altitude. Given this constraint, A-36s would make poor bomber escorts. The A-36 was powered by the Allison V1710 V12 engine. It adopted a Curtiss 3-blade propeller with a 2-to-1 gear reduction. The engine crankshaft is twice the rotational speed of the propeller. This is usually done to reduce harmonics and keep the propeller tip speed below Mach 1. The engine is rated at 1,200 horsepower. These fuselage guns need to be synchronized with the 3-bladed propeller system. Although it could dive bomb strategic targets, medium and heavy bombers would be more effective. The A-36 is best used to attack tactical targets, provide close air support, or on rhubarb sorties attacking trains, motor vehicles, or boats. Its greatest vulnerability is its cooling system, where damage will cause an engine failure in around 2 to 3 minutes. This schematic shows the A-36 cooling system, which is identical to the P-51A system. Any damage to these lines, valves, tanks, radiators, or pumps would render the system inoperative. Only the cooling tank has armor protection. The main benefit of an A-36 dive bomber is it can be based close to the front lines. It is more accurate as a dive bomber than any other fighters in inventory. Close proximity to the action allows for a timely attack response. It does not need fighter escort. Sortie success depends on maintaining a 90-degree vertical dive for all planes attacking. Target misses are due to non-vertical dives or skips or slips during bomb release. The rest of the formation follows the leader at his dive angle. To attack, the formation leader flies over the target, half rolls, and dives straight down. He should stay inverted until directly over the target. On heavily defended targets, start the dive at a 10,000-foot altitude, working past the plane's performance drop. Release the bombs and recover at an altitude between 4,000 to 5,000 feet. For lightly defended targets, start the dive at 8,000 feet and recover on the deck. The lower the bomb release altitude, the more accurate the strike. Open the A-36's dive brakes prior to dive start. The plane's indicated airspeed will drop to 170 to 180 miles per hour with the dive brakes open. The plane's dive brakes are already deployed. The plane's speed has slowed to around 175 miles per hour, and he is rolling on his back and executing a vertical dive. The lower wing dive brake panels are visible. Due to low dive start speed and low ground visibility, the formation should both weave and change altitude when approaching the target and after dive pullout to disrupt ground AA gunners' aim. Do not attack heavily defended targets with the A-36. It's too vulnerable, and larger bombers will be more effective. This table lists the A-36's radius of action based on sortie type and loadout. For example, a tactical radius of 225 miles can be expected for an A-36 if attacking with two 500-pound bombs traveling to the target and back to base. This table lists a damage scorecard of A-36s attacking Italy from July 1st through August 8, 1943. Out of the 2,775 bombs dropped, the targets destroyed include 10 boxcars, 3 enemy aircraft, 353 motor vehicles, 3 motorcycles, 12 train engines, 7 tanks, and 375 Axis troops. Additional observations of the A-36 is discussed in this August 1943 memo. The 2 extra fuselage guns increase the plane's firepower from 4 to 6 guns. The 2 fuselage guns can be cleared of minor stoppages from the cockpit. The 2 centerline guns are more accurate than the wing guns and are more accurate at longer distances. To make the A-36 even more combat effective, 8 proposed modifications are listed, which include better cockpit ventilation. It's too hot. Shorten the stick by 4 inches. This image shows the location of the control stick of the P-51A model. Change from a razorback to a slide bubble canopy. More pilot armor. This image shows the level of armor protection of the A-36. It's designed to stop a 30 caliber bullet. A more comfortable seat. The P-51A seat. Better gun ventilation. Increase pilot visibility. Increase aileron travel. The aileron and aileron tabs are located here and have a plus or minus 10-degree travel. Increase to 2 bomb racks per wing. Better bomb release system. The bomb racks on the A-36. So, what happened to the A-36? The 2 groups that operated out of the Mediterranean performed well. However, it was clear the combat effectiveness of a dedicated dive bomber was overestimated. A greater value on combat effectiveness return is with the multi-role, versatile fighter bomber. By VJ Day, no A-36s were in U.S. inventory. The P-47 was a standard fighter bomber with an air-cooled, battle-damage-resistant engine armed with 3 500-pound bombs, 4 HFAR air-to-ground rockets, and 8 machine guns. This page from a May 1945 19th Tactical Air Command document indicates the P-47, P-38, and P-51 are all used in tactical air operations, but the P-47 is used exclusively since it has many advantages over the Mustang and Lightnings, including ruggedness, bomb load carrying capability, ease of maintenance and operation, and less vulnerable to ground AA fire. A liquid-cooled engine is not suitable for attacking heavily defended ground targets. The 5th Air Force found that a dedicated dive bomber is not economical, and these types of planes were discarded in favor of a fighter bomber, which could, in addition to dive bombing, skip bomb and strafe, as discussed in this 1947 USSBS report. The fighter bomber proved a better all-purpose weapon. If you found this A-36 Mustang dive bomber program review informative, please consider supporting the channel by liking, commenting, and/or subscribing to World War II U.S. Bombers.